How vulnerable is your phone to cybercrime?
Well, a new study shows how hackers can potentially crack your smartphone security PIN through its sensors. We'll be joined by an expert after the break to assess the risks.
Asia.
Welcome back. Now, hackers could potentially obtain your phone's PIN code through its sensors, according to a study from Nanyang Technological University in Singapore.
Its team of researchers succeeded in unlocking Android smartphones with 99.5% accuracy with only 3 tries. And they do say that iPhones, well, they're vulnerable too. Lokok Phai with more.
Your body language might not just expose your emotions. Researchers from Nanyang Technological University say it could reveal your PIN number as well. Modern smartphones have a variety of sensors that track motion, orientation, and ambient light, among other things. When users unlock their phones, say with a PIN, they tend to hold the phone in a certain way. Reaching for certain numbers also blocks off more light than others, and this can be recorded by the sensors. Over time, the data can be compiled by hackers to make an educated guess at what your PIN number is. Collecting data from 6 typical smartphone sensors, researchers developed an algorithm that allowed them to unlock phones secured with random sets of 4-digit PIN numbers with almost complete accuracy. So you can imagine the possible damage that could be done should such an algorithm find itself inside a popular app, collecting data secretly from thousands of users over years.
We used very easily available tools. So these are all algorithms which are already available in the open source. So we were able to capture all the apps in a couple of hours. Once all the data is ready, it is a matter of less than a minute to actually train the algorithm and then test it with the actual hacking tool.
While studies have been done previously in this area, they generally achieved a lower level of accuracy. One analyst also says it's more likely that hackers would attempt more direct forms of attack, such as by using software that directly steals input from keyboard presses.
Ultimately, if you're trying to do something that's going to cause a disruption, or you're trying to potentially steal data or steal money, you're going to need a step further. Right? You're going to need access to a particular application or to a particular system to carry out the full hack. It's not just access to the phone itself.
But even if the problem isn't addressed by Google and Apple, Mr. Petit added that the cybersecurity industry has invested years of research into plugging such gaps with their applications.
Now, Channel News Asia has reached out to Google and Apple on the findings. Google has yet to give an official response, while Apple, well, they declined comment.
Now, for more on this, we're joined by cybersecurity specialist Harish Pillay. He's head of community architecture and leadership at IT firm Red Hat Asia Pacific, which provides open source solutions. Thank you very much, Harish, for coming to studio. First up, how worried should we be knowing that, hackers can get our security pins?
I think any of these devices, there's always a concern. There will always be a possibility something can go wrong. You might want to think about, instead of using pins, for example, to draw a shape in the case of an Android phone. You draw a shape to unlock the phone. I'm not sure, because I have not looked at the report to understand what it is that they were able to do apart from capturing PIN numbers. So a shape may be a little bit difficult to get, but at the end of the day, this is a device that there will be tools that can get around it. Now, on the other hand, if they are able to make sure that the kind of sensors that we're interested in are disabled from an app perspective, in other words, the apps cannot access it unless it's authorized, like accessing your media files, your microphone, your camera, and stuff like that. So currently, as far as I know, most of the phones do not give you that capability to disable it. So what needs to be done is the operating system vendor, in the case of Android from Google or from iPhone from Apple, to be able to give that additional capability to disable it.
Harish, going back to the findings of the survey, it seems to suggest that the way that you hold your phone when you're when you're sort of plugging in that PIN number, how your finger blocks the light, sort of the position, the tilt of the phone, the very sensors that are used, like the accelerometer, the proximity sensors, as well as the gyroscope, that's what's betraying the actual PIN number. So even perhaps if you were to draw a line, it may do the same thing. We don't know. But how vulnerable does this make your phone to hackers, though? Could they take over your phone remotely?
The answer will be yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start from the yes and then work backwards. So what we need to do is to find ways that the operating system actually blocks those things in the first place, right? So you need to be able to block it out and only allow access to those sensors by apps that have been authorized. Otherwise, they don't get it. It's plain and simple. Putting a shape in, I think, has got a little bit more leeway in terms of how a little bit more secure, I think it is. A PIN, like this example of the story, right? You got 10,000 options. You got four digits, you got 10,000 options. In the case of a shape can, it's a lot more capabilities there. A lot more shapes are there. So that might be one mitigating thing that you can work on it for now.
Right.
From a long-term perspective, they have to fix it in the operating system itself to prevent access to those sensors.
Okay, so, the shape. Let's talk about, what Apple has. Apple has a thumbprint and face recognition. Would that also be better? I mean, how do we protect ourselves, besides just, a shape?
Well, there are a few things. I tend to draw a line at a certain kind of, in terms of ease of use. I'd rather not have a face recognition to unlock the phone, plain and simple. I don't see a need. How much more do I need to put in just to unlock the phone, or a thumbprint for that matter? I prefer not. I prefer to disable those things because I don't see the value in it. Now, people may find that, oh, that is kind of cool and it's kind of fun to do it, but I think just don't use those capabilities. That's what I think you should do. Just don't use it. So then they cannot put a photograph of you in front of the camera and say, okay, unlock the phone. That can happen.
Okay.
Or thumbprint, they can make you touch somewhere and you spray. You have seen this in TV shows and all that, right? You can recover the thumbprint from a very tiny bit of place that you touched.
Okay.
And then recover it and then use that against you. It can be done. So don't therefore use these things because I think those things don't give you additional security. They don't.
Right. Okay, if they don't give you additional security.
Yeah.
So now then the hackers have already gotten into our phone. We just realized from the PIN or even like from drawing or anything to that effect. Then how do we then protect more sensitive apps that we have? For instance, banking. Do we need another extra filter then for that?
Yeah, I think that's probably what you need to do. I mean, again, it goes back to the operating system vendors to help provide a way to sandbox these applications in a manner that you completely block everything out from general usage. That's what needs to be done. It would be up to the vendors to help provide that kind of capability. But I think the bigger issue here is that you may want, I personally don't do banking on my phone, plain and simple, because I don't need that additional functionality or the convenience. No, I'd rather do it on my laptop. So I draw a line where I use these things for. I prefer not to have my credit card to be touch-enabled to pay for things. I rather put in the PIN number there. So you take, it looks convenient, it's kind of cool, it's kind of fun to do. But at the end of it, when you think about it, it's so easy. You can make a mistake and that's it, right? So let's be clever about it. Let's understand. Let's talk to people and say, what does this really mean? Do I need the convenience? A lot of times I think people will say, yeah, I don't really need that convenience. It's okay to put in the PIN number. That's fine. Because otherwise it goes in the wrong hands and then you are stuck.
Right. So, giving your phone basically just, full access is just not such a good idea. You still need to have some barriers to that as well.
Be cautious. Be cautious more than being very freely giving, permissions away to your devices. Right. At which point then is your problem. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you very much, Harish, for coming in and speaking to us. We've been speaking with Harish Pillay from Red Hat Asia Pacific, an IT company.
Thank you.
Now,